All right, let's get my friend Tone in here. By the way, okay, it's coming back now. There we have it here. Tone, let's start right there with Frank Reich. What do you think about potentially Frank Reich coming in as an advisor to the coaching staff? Not in the role as OC.
Right.
You don't want to upset too much.
Right.
But
No,
what would you
I love
make
it.
of that?
I love it. Frank has such a good rapport with this team, the staff already. You said it yourself, the Nick Sirianni connection, and obviously Shane Steichen was here last year. He's a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator here already, has a relationship with Howie, so on and so forth. So I'm not against it at all. I would welcome it with open arms. I'm just curious about does he want to take some time away to recalibrate. And look, as much as we have our opinions about Brian Johnson, trust me, I have plenty. I look at it like this. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, let's say Brian Johnson gets a job somewhere else next year. Do you also consider bringing Frank Reich back for
Right.
OC job?
I wouldn't think about it. I would do it.
No, that's my point exactly. I wouldn't hesitate at all. But again, to answer your immediate question, would I welcome him back? Absolutely. It can only help us.
Give me your takeaways from last night.
Instant classic. The game goes down as a classic game for both sides. Even though the Bills lost the game, it was a classic moment. It was a classic evening for both teams. Jalen Hurts submitted himself firmly in the thick of the MVP race. In my opinion, that game put him in the lead.
No. He's in the lead.
Yeah. That game for me put him without a doubt in the lead of the MVP race. I'm watching that game from beginning to end, and it took me through so many emotions because I was so lost what the game plan was in the first half. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you lost Lane Johnson for the game. You come out and you try to set up 3 passing plays in a row, and you put Jack Driscoll on the island with Leonard Floyd. Come on, man. This cannot be life here. So I had a lot of questions and concerns about the offensive game plan in the first half. Defense, I felt like they got stops in certain spots. But again, Josh Allen and those guys, it's just going to eventually the levees are going to break. So you can't just expect a guy like Josh Allen to not be able to put points on the board. And it makes it even worse when your defense is getting stops and the offense isn't doing anything with it. And then Jalen Carter blocks a field goal before halftime, and then you give the ball right back to them and give them a touchdown. So a lot of self-inflicted wounds in the first half, and then the second half comes, and all of a sudden Jalen Hurts and those boys, they just turn up. And remind you, they were down 10 points going into halftime, but to take it a step further, they were down 10 points going into the fourth quarter. So Jalen Hurts just played the game of his life. It was an MVP performance. Devontae Smith showed up, and he was so clutch on third downs. AJ Brown had a clutch touchdown. Olamide Zaccheaus with the best catch of the day. My guy Jalen Hurts put the ball on a string, and when he rolled left, I'm thinking to myself, where is he going with this ball? It's 3rd and 15. He's running out of options. And all of a sudden, he just finds Olamide in the back of the end zone. I felt like Jalen Hurts played, again, first half was very rocky. Nothing to write home about in the first half at all. His passer rating was like a 7. That's how bad it was. But then the second half, he was damn near perfect. Put up 5 touchdowns on the day, over 200 total yards of offense, 2 turnovers. Got to get that cleaned up. But, man, Jalen Hurts, that was the MVP game for him. And on top of that, like you've been talking about, back-to-back weeks, you're going up against your rivals. You're going up against these quarterbacks that people have compared you to, or some people feel like you're not really in their
contemporaries.
Class. And exactly. And now people are legitimately questioning, who's the better quarterback, right? But again, I was saying this earlier on Sports Tape. Josh Allen played out of his mind. Like, Josh Allen was a man possessed yesterday. If you take away that turnover, which you can't, but if you exclude that, he played out of his mind. He by far look. We're not going to argue about this. The fact of the matter is, if you had to ask me who's the more talented player, Josh Allen is more talented than Hurts. But who's the better winner? Who do I want leading my team? Who do I trust the most? Who am I rolling with? I got to pick Jalen Hurts. And we talked about this last week. Jalen Hurts doesn't wow you in any area. Doesn't have the biggest arm. Isn't the most athletic. All that kind of stuff. But he just knows how to play the position. He knows how to win the game. He knows when to push all the right buttons at the right time. And I'm rolling with that.
Josh Allen is special. Hurts is the ultimate winner.
Correct. And I'm
You
with
have to.
I'm with that 100%.
You have to. You have to determine what you want on your team. By the way, the reason also that I was more impressed, Lane was out.
Yeah,
And
but good
with
point.
Lane being out, he's ahead of a Niner all day. He's by far ahead of Purdy. Your guy looked like a turd without Trent Williams. So to me, when the comment, and I made it, I go, how would he look without Lane? Well, that happened. And I'm like this. They wobbled. I thought they wobbled in the first half, the offensive line, because they were giving up hits on him. They had a 3-and-out right away.
Mhm.
Get this. The entire right side, if you think about it, was gone from a year ago. Okay, Isaac Seumalo, Goddard, and Lane. That entire right side was gone.
Mhm.
So when people go, that's the best. That's why when you listen to guys like Tony Romo, they're going, you see these guys up here? These are the best. No. There were only 3 guys left from the original group from a year ago, and a Hall of Fame right tackle and one of the top 5 tight ends is out. So he won with all that out of the game. And how he came back, like I said, you see, Tone, to me, it really comes down to one stat. There's 2 stats with him, the winning stat and the touchdown stat. Because if you start looking into it and you start, like I said, look at what he's done the last 2 weeks. And you know what headline readers are going to do. Tone, they're going to go like this the last 3 weeks when it comes to Hurts. 200 yards against the Bills, 150 against KC, 207 versus Dallas. Some people are going to, I know voters. I know how some of these guys act because they have a preference on who they think is the better guy. And this is going to be all they need. That's why being 10-1, you can't deny it. And the people he's beating.
Yep. And also,
you just can't deny. There's no denying what he's doing.
And also, I'm actually kind of glad the game went. I'm actually kind of glad the game went into overtime. Obviously, it helped the Eagles win the game, but I'm glad it went into overtime because at that point, it was the last game standing in the 4:00 slot. Everybody had to tune in. Everybody had to tune in when they found out. Everybody knew that when all the other games were over, and there was only one 4:00 game left, and the game went into overtime. Everyone had to lock in and see who was going to win that game. Everybody knew about that second half being what it was. And Jalen Hurts.
It helps promote the Niner game.
Exactly. Jalen Hurts gets his opportunity. He gets the ball, and he drives down the field methodically, dishing it to Smith here, dishing it to Gainwell here. He marched down that field so methodically. Even on the field goal drive in the fourth quarter, he marched down that field. I think he only had maybe 2 timeouts. Marched down the field little by little. Okay, throw it to the out route. Okay, get out of bounds. Throw it over here, out of bounds, out of bounds. He was so patient and so methodical.
Did a nice job managing the clock there too, and that 2-minute drill.
Beautiful management of the clock. So I'm looking at Jalen Hurts as this dude like, yo, I trust this dude with my kids, and I ain't got no kids. Like I trust this dude with the launch codes. You dig what I'm saying? I trust this dude like with the beyond belief. And again, say what you want about his skill set. Say what you want about him not being the most talented. I don't care about none of that. Talent don't win championships. Winners do. It's just that simple for me.
Do you know what they're debating right now with Nick Wright? Somebody text me. Do you blame Josh Allen for that loss? Instead of looking at it like this, instead of doing it like this, because he's a Mahomes honk.
So yeah, sure, definitely.
And so he's got to look at it like, okay, they're lucky, they're this, they're that. Look at how they diminish Jalen Hurts. It's not about what Hurts did. And if you didn't come away from that game going like this, I don't know, man. I think you need a shotgun to kill that guy because you're not just going to beat him.
You know why?
And you're just not going to beat him. You know, Tone, they have conditioned themselves so much now, but I also think they're fatigued. And part of the fatigue is, follow me here, Kelsey illegal procedures, the 178 and run offense. not from run teams. And
Right.
some go, well, that's Josh Allen. Well, that's when you play good quarterbacks. You got to worry about those guys with play action, those guys that move around. Hey, dude, what are you going to do against Lamar if you play against him in the Super Bowl? You're going to get that same kind of bullshit when you see Lamar, and he's a tad bit more electric in open space.
Yeah. You know, I give the Bills, I give their running game more credit because if you really look at the numbers, even prior to the game, they have a top 10 rush offense, believe it or not.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but believe it or not, right? Like this is actually a year where they actually can run the ball much better.
Huh. The kid Cook's good.
Yeah, I like him actually. He runs very well. But you know, all these guys, what they don't realize is not only do they have a responsibility to carve these narratives out because they're national guys, they have a responsibility that they're not living up to, but it's okay. The fact of the matter is, the more they talk like this, the more it fuels the city, the more it fuels this organization, and it fuels the quarterback. Because what they fail to realize is he operates at this level. He operates at this RPM. He's used to being doubted at this level.
Tone, I just think these media guys sometimes just hate hardworking teams. I mean,
you know what it is? No. You know what they hate? They hate things. See, I was talking to Rob about this earlier. Most of these guys on TV now, they're analytics guys. They're analytics guys, right? And a lot of these guys, they hate what they can't measure. They hate what they can't quantify. If they can't put a number on it, if they don't have a stat for it, it's not real to them, or it doesn't make sense to them, or it's luck to them, right?
Luck.
Look. That word's been thrown around with Philadelphia. Now I understand they wore Kelly green yesterday. I know that's the Irish colors, but the fact of the matter is,
luck.
That's not luck. What you're seeing
How could that be luck?
Again, like I said, these guys on the national scale, if they can't measure it, it means nothing to them.
Agreed.
Everything about the Philadelphia Eagles goes beyond the numbers. Everything about the Philadelphia Eagles goes beyond measure, goes beyond analytics. Sileo, you played this game before. What you guys did in Miami,
unbelievable.
You can't measure that.
No,
you can't put a number on that.
It's death before defeat kind of shit, and it totally is. However, I'm going to bring it back to center here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I brought up 49-17 with Jim Kelly. All those things that you talk about, Tone, all of the accomplishments, all of the wins.
I follow you.
All of it. They need one. They don't need 41. They don't need 3. They need one. They need to validate this because to me, you're in the area of the Miami Dolphin run where the Dolphins went undefeated. And they had those 3 AFC championship appearances and that Shula team back in the day that won Super Bowls against the Cowboys, the Minnesota Vikings, and then I think the Cowboys again. They won 2 Super Bowls and 3 they got beat by the Cowboys, but they won 2 in 3 years, but 3 in a row. You're in that shit. You got to validate it though here, Tone. You got to punch through here, man. I mean, it really is now Super Bowl or nothing.
I agree with you 100%. I even entered this season. It's Super Bowl or bust. I knew that from the beginning, regardless of how this defense is going to look, regardless of how the offense is going to look, or the coaches.
Are you shocked where they are 10-1? I am.
Yeah, because I actually had them losing. I can't remember what it was. I had
2 or 3 games.
I had them losing the Jets game.
Like 9-3 right now. Probably I had them probably like 9-3. Yeah,
if they're 10-1 now, I had them probably being 8-3 at this mark.
Okay.
Something like that. I thought they would lose to the Jets. I thought they would I thought they would split with the Cowboys. That still remains to be seen. I think I also had them losing to who was on their schedule?
KC.
I think I had them losing to KC. I had them lose. Actually, this is funny. I had them losing to the Jets. I had them losing to Miami, I think. And then
with Rodgers.
This is all with Rodgers, right? You know, this is all preseason. But the bottom line is though, they've surpassed my expectations. I think I actually had them losing this game before the season started. But as everything gets into motion, you start to get into the thick of things. And the fact of the matter is, they're 10-1, and they have so far surpassed my expectations because the schedule is harder, and that's not to say they would have been worse, but the schedule is harder. Your room for error is slimmer. So again, I had them maybe 8-3 at this mark, maybe 9-2, but they're 10-1. I mean, and the bottom line is, I had them finishing the season at minimum 12-5. That's what I had them finishing the season with, 12-5, and they're definitely going to pass that. So, man, if they beat the 49ers this Sunday, and it's so crazy how it's Monday, we're already talking about Sunday, but if they beat the 49ers on Sunday, I think they have the NFC on lock, in my opinion.
You're 2-point underdogs at home at 10-1.
Yeah, we're used. Yeah, it ain't nothing new. It ain't nothing new.
You see that? You listen to that sarcastic voice right there. Dude. How can you be 2-point under? You got to be the first 10-1 team in consecutive years to be underdogs going into a game against a team that's lost 3 ball games. How is that possible?
Hey, listen, the Philly Godfather said it best, man. They're it's luck. They're hanging on by a thread. So someone has to knock them off, right? I mean, the Philly Godfather, he puts the money up. You know what I mean? So hey, you gotta believe the bettors, believe Vegas, believe the guys that put the money. Keep believing them, please. Keep believing them.
I'm still going to stick to my guns. I want Brian Johnson replaced at the end of the year.
I understand.
He's not good enough. And hey, Tone, here again. You guys, everyone keeps going, well, he had a better second half. He's good here. He's good. I'm like, why in the world, if you're a Super Bowl contending team, are you dicking around with experimental coordinators? What is the absolute mentality in that when here, Tone, either someone's in the way in the first half, because do we not agree? Some people are going like this. Well, you know what, man? The adjustments that they're making from the shitty first halves they have. Okay, well, you haven't your responsibility as a head coach is to get out of the way and to fix and have it a little bit smoother for your game plan. It is so different from what they do. They wanted to throw the ball in the first half, and get this, they were not ready to do that in the element.
It was pouring down raining.
They came back in the second half and ran the ball.
What's so funny? I'm a firm believer that it's the coach's head job to chart the course, and the player's head, and it's the player's job, the quarterback's job to steer the ship. And when you're charting a bad course, when you're setting your crew up for disaster, how can you get to your destination, right? I've really been thinking about this because I've been hard on Brian Johnson, like really hard on him, right? And the thing is, though, I want him to succeed, but this isn't even personal anymore. This is more so about what we're seeing on the field. I'm curious to know who's really controlling what in that first half, because when you watch those first halves, it's so eerily similar to the 2-5 Eagles in 2021. They're trying to force feed the pass game. They're trying so hard to throw it downfield and drop Jalen Hurts back. And the scripted plays just seem abysmal. They seem just disorderly.
Do you notice one thing in each of those games that we watched the first half that's chaotic? There's one 10-play drive in each one of those first halves.
Exactly.
But once that gets away
after their first drive, and it's after their first drive, which always goes terrible.
That gets away from that, they seemingly are lost.
Mm-hmm.
Then what do? They revert back to who they are.
And that's my problem.
You know what I think? The Eagles go as far out as they can. Then they realize, shit, we're going to reel it back in and be who we are. But, dude, all that right there is why you've had one score opportunities for other teams to beat you.
Mm-hmm.
Every single game this year, except maybe the Bucs game, has been like the last possession, or the Rams game has been like the last possession could get you beat.
Mm-hmm.
Every freaking game has been like that, Tone. And it's just too up and down. Either there's too many voices in the room, or there's one voice in the room. And you know what, to me, and it goes to your point here, and this is why I think it's Nick. Because you know why? The reason you can't fix it, because it comes from the head coach.
Yeah,
now, that's
really
a theory.
No,
Okay,
listen,
I
we
don't
talked
know
about this
that.
off air. No, listen, we talked about this before the show even started. I brought it to your attention. I'm saying to you, I've been pointing the finger at Brian Johnson for so long, and John McMullen pretty much told me the answer to this. I was talking to John, I think last week, and he basically was saying that, no, not last week, but the week prior. He basically was saying that when it comes to this game plan, it's Nick Sirianni's game plan, and Brian Johnson is calling the plays. So, yeah, they all sit in the room and discuss the game plan, but it's Nick Sirianni's game plan. How they approach these games from the beginning is from Nick Sirianni.
It is.
So, to me, that tells me that, okay, so is Nick Sirianni responsible for these slow starts?
Yes.
And then in the second half, now Brian Johnson is able to get creative and call plays?
Because it's not scripted.
Because it's not scripted anymore. So, again, that begs the question, have we been pointing the finger at the wrong guy all season? Because, again, he's still the OC, not the head coach. He has to fall in line. And look, I'm not trying to make excuses for him. Now we're trying to think critically.
No.
You know what I mean?
It's rationalizing it out, because if it's not being changed,
Right.
it's not from the OC then. I agree.
Exactly.
It's from the head coach, because
It has to be.
Say, hey man, he's a soldier in this thing. He ain't the general. That comes from the general. And in my opinion, it does look like the first half of some of these games this year looked like the 2-5 team when Sirianni was play caller. The further they get from that, you get more Brian Johnson wanting to run the ball. I think personally, Brian Johnson wants to run the ball. I think he knows that sets up play action, brings the backers back up a little closer. You're able to get people more open. That's why, and they're implementing Swift. And get this, people call it adjustment. I call it getting away from Nick's play calling.
And what's so funny? If you really think about who Brian Johnson has been throughout his coaching career, he found a way to maximize Dak Prescott at Mississippi State when nobody wanted him on their college roster. He's been a huge part of Jalen Hurts' development, in 2021 and on forward. And
he was good at Florida too.
Exactly. So I'm looking at it like this, right? Didn't he coach Anthony Richardson as well at some point?
No, I don't think it was Richardson. It might be that kid that's the backup now down there.
Kyle Trask? Is it Kyle Trask?
Kyle Trask. It might be Kyle Trask because Dan Mullen was the head coach of Florida at the time, and he was at Mississippi State, so he may have been down there with him. Because remember something, Kyle Trask didn't have a scholarship offer,
right?
The same way Dak didn't.
But he got Dak drafted. He got Kyle Trask
drafted in the second round.
So I have a hard time believing that Brian Johnson doesn't know how to maximize a player. So again, that goes back to what we said.
It's Nick.
The scripted game plan is worse than the off-scripted, which is crazy. Typically, your scripted plays is supposed to be the easy points, and everything else, you kind of go along as you go. I'm going to start pointing the finger at Nick Sirianni from now on, because it makes no sense. Because if you notice in the second half, they start doing a lot more camera cut to Brian Johnson, and he's feeding a lot more to Jalen in the second half. Whereas though in the first half, they're kind of just allowing things to kind of play itself out a little bit.
You saw a little bit different creativity in the second half too than you did in the first half.
You saw. I don't know if you remember.
That's not Nick.
They ran. They put Jack Stoll in a similar position that they would put Dallas Goedert, and they kind of ran a similar play with the with the RPO.
He really had a nice play down the sideline.
Yeah,
when he ran that guy over.
Exactly. So
I love that.
That's the creativity, and he utilized all his guys. He got Olamide involved, Jack Stoll involved. You know what I mean? He's like, it's again. I'm looking at this offensive coaching staff, and I'm criticizing them as a group, but I have to put more onus on Nick Sirianni for establishing a game plan. And my biggest problem with the Philadelphia Eagles has always been lean into who you are, because that's how we win games. Like I don't mind us throwing the ball more, but we can't get away from who we are. That's my biggest thing. But overall, though, Jalen Hurts, I think the way he plays, he's found a way to win games in spite of it.
You think Jalen trusts that coaching staff?
Man, I don't know.
Because didn't that second half look all him?
That second half, he took over.
It just looked him, not play calling. And it was, dude, you could call anything you want. You could tell me to paint something, but it comes to the artist.
Yeah,
that has to put the portrait out there.
It always goes back to the players. You know, John McMullen says this all the time. I lean on John a lot because he's been covering the game for a while. John, and he got this from Nick Sirianni, and the fact that Nick Sirianni has this self-awareness is interesting to me. He says, you want to see a good coach? Well, I'll show you good players. So he understands he's a product of his talent. I can respect that in a man. Him straight up saying, look, I am where I am because of these guys out here. So to your point, I think these guys are playing above the level of their coaches.
Yeah, me too.
I'll be honest. I think they are. They're so talented. You know, a lot of people say, I like Colin Cowherd. He says things I like, sometimes says things I don't like. But one thing he always says is the Eagles are very consistent. They get cute in the first half, and then in the second half, they go back to doing what they do best. And you're right. And it's true. They get cute in that first half. They dick around a little bit. And all of a sudden, the second half, now they're ready to play football. Devontae Smith said it when they asked him at the end of the game. They said, what's the difference between the first and the second half? How do you guys keep doing this? And he was like, honestly, I think we just came out ready to play football in the second half. That's
well. Here, let me
say about it.
Let me put this out there to you too. By the way, Dirty, I agree. I think it was all Jalen in the second half here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say one more time here about the play calling and all of this. I mean, they get in the way here, man. They're just getting in the way, and it's gonna haunt you in a game that matters, like it did in the. So get this, you guys did everything right last year like this.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing everything right again. Those coaches, dude. I told you months ago, the coaches are going to cost them, not the players.
Well, in the offseason, they were my biggest concern.
How about this? How can it be so different, Tone? I get this. If the game plan, you're adjusting, you want to go to do this, you see the guys, less games with the Chiefs, Jalen changed. A lot of audibles in that one too, I agree. I think they put the game in his hands in the second half, and I think they put the game in his hands totally in the overtime.
You know what's so funny?
I don't think there was a lot of play calling going on there.
Don't they do that a lot with the some of the best quarterbacks?
Yes.
They say, you know what? Okay, this is what we're trying to get. This is what we're trying to accomplish, but we want you to cook it. Here are the ingredients. Cook it.
That's what I think Steichen did last year. I think Steichen did more of that last year. Gave him a variety of plays that he could run in situations. And that's why Jalen sometimes he ran more because he thought it was more advantageous to run at that particular time. And if you see him in the second half versus the Chiefs and the Bills, Jalen Hurts' runs were so good. Now, I think the league's catching up with him a little bit on some of those design plays. Those ones up the middle, though, are still – get this. Let me tell you this, man. I think they caught the Bills off guard.
With the all-out blitz, yeah.
With the all-out blitzes and him going up the middle because they thought he was hurt and they thought he'd be more perimeter. Those up-the-middle design runs were backbreakers in that game.
What really made it also, when Swift motioned all the way to the right, they bit on that so bad. And the moment Hurts saw them, he drew a safety and I think he drew the safety, a linebacker, and the nickel all the way over when Swift got in motion. And then when they came in all our blitz, Hurts just took off in the end zone to win the game. I mean, Jalen Hurts is such a cerebral player. I don't think he gets enough credit for being. I don't think he gets enough credit for being a field general, being a game. Really, man. People say the game manager title is a bad thing, right? But
it's stupid. But
the reality is Tom Brady was the most elite of the elite game managers.
Tone, these offenses are built boutique for one man.
Right. You have to manage the game.
Okay. When you say he's a game manager, you're not going to have the same game plan for Jimmy Garoppolo as you did for Trey Lance or if you did for Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's not going to run like Trey Lance is. Mm-hmm. Every one of these offenses today in the NFL are boutique offenses that are designed for one guy. So if he's a game manager, he's the game manager of the Jalen Hurts offense.
Exactly. The
way he runs that offense is insane. Gardner Mitchell could be a playoff quarterback this year. But he showed last year he could not run the Eagle offense.
Because it wasn't made for him.
It wasn't made for him. Now, Shane Steichen has changed that up for him.
he's had time to change it, because it was for Anthony Richardson. He's had week after week, he's been adjusting that game plan.
The Colts are sitting in the 7-hole right now.
And they got a real chance of staying there too.
Okay, so again, Jonathan Taylor's helping out a lot now too. By the way,
yeah, of course it helps. Yeah, definitely.
But the point is, when they say game manager, I'm like, I'll tell you one thing that I did see that became a little bit troublesome for me in that game is that you see what Josh Allen was doing, which was so simple and it's predictable. He was sitting there, and what Brady is a good coordinator. He is a good coordinator in Buffalo.
No, I like Joe Brady.
Bring motion across, and you know what it did? It exposed the secondary because when the secondary didn't follow him, you knew he was in a zone.
Yep.
And he knew exactly where to go with the ball, which becomes predictable.
Exactly.
That's why the guy was throwing pitch and catch the way he was. And when you know he's in zone, there's going to be free lanes for him to run and take off because there's going to be no middle help in the middle of the field.
It's so funny you say that. I'm watching the game and I'm thinking to myself, this has become pitch and catch. And every time he sent somebody in motion and no one followed.
And when he doesn't follow him, it's zone.
See, Josh Allen is too smart at the position to be fooled by anything like that. So the one thing I liked about what Joe Brady did was he didn't ask Josh Allen to quote unquote win the game. Well, he actually had him throwing a lot of short passes, trusting his playmakers, throwing to the running back. He had him throw to the running backs a lot in the first half. But I respect it because Josh Allen's been so far off the ledge. He's trying to reel him in and then unleash him little by little. Just because you got the biggest gun, that doesn't mean you always got to use it. So Joe Brady did an amazing job really navigating that game for Josh Allen. And again, I'm a Jalen Hurts guy, but Josh Allen played a tremendous game. Jalen Hurts just made bigger plays and bigger moments. And that's just a reality. If anyone sits here and says Josh Allen played a terrible game, they're just lying.
Because
he played a great. I'm sitting here watching the game and I'm thinking to myself, this dude is nice.
I'm going to say it one more time about Josh Allen. Josh Allen is more gifted as a quarterback than Hurts. However, Jalen Hurts is the ultimate winner.
Yeah, and those
what do you want as your quarterback? The ultimate winner, or do you want the ultimate talent? I want the ultimate winner. Yeah. And get this, it's hard to fight that. It really is because you think you can win with talent all the time. But I'm going to tell you something else, Tone. The thing that kind of made me push him even further and closer to Mahomes, and I'm talking Hurts, is Lane not being out there.
Yeah, he lost Lane. He lost Fletch. He lost Goddard. He lost Zach Cunningham.
Dude. That's a thing.
Jordan Davis went out for a little bit. Jalen Carter went down for a little bit.
He's out.
So
they lost Zach. They lost the Cunningham kid.
Yep. So man, look at it like this, right? Joe Burrow, is he more talented than Josh Allen? No, but Burrow is just
Burrow's a better winner.
He's a better winner. He maximizes his skill set to the fullest extent.
Let me show you about having and why Jalen Hurts is like, and the excuse of him having a bit. He does have a better team than Josh Allen. He has a better team. However, let me go to Los Angeles with the Chargers. What's Herbert's excuse? He's got Eckler. He's got Mike Williams. All these guys went healthy. Keenan Allen. A really good old line.
Got a decent tight end.
Excuse
got a
D line.
4-7. Got a D line. Got corners. Got safeties. You're right, and that's
Joey Bosa. You got all the. You got
Khalil Mack and all these guys. Look, listen. I say it all the time. I say it on Sports Take, and I will never stop saying it. Talent is not enough in the NFL. Talent gets you here. But winning ways, winning games, being, making the big plays in the big moments, that keeps you here. And Jalen Hurts, the way he's playing right now, in my opinion, I have a hard time believing anybody can really beat him in a big moment.
I don't either. Get this.
I don't see it.
People are upset with me because I'm saying Allen's is a better talent. And yet I'm saying this. I don't think Allen. Did you see Allen on the sidelines after the game when the kick went through and he shook his head? You know what that's a shaking your head of? I did everything I possibly could to win this ball game, and I didn't. Do you know what that is?
It kills you.
That is defeating and deflating and
It
all
makes
of
it
that
worse.
shit.
It makes it worse because they have a bye this week, so they had to sit with this.
So again, Aaron Rodgers is a better talent than Tom Brady. But Tom Brady is the ultimate winner. You know, I heard somebody nationally go, or I heard somebody, I think earlier before your show, talking about Jalen Hurts is the greatest winner he's ever seen. That's not true. You just saw a guy go through 20 years of Tom Brady.
Prisoner moment. Just relax.
No. Let's get a trophy for him first before you start dubbing that shit. So, but what I'm saying is the intent, and again, it's great to be excited about that. I'm not urinating on that. And
look, I'm excited, right? I'm super excited about it.
For me, as soon as that game got over, I went like this. Damn, that team just cannot. I mean, when you see shit like that, and you know that team is conditioned to perform like that, and they're conditioned. I think they're meant. They have to look at the last 7 days. They have to be mentally fried.
That's why what you said about Michael Irvin saying what he said to you.
Oh, he's depressed.
You can't.
Michael Irvin texts me this morning and he goes, "Sills, I'm depressed." I go, "What happened, man?" He goes like this. He's like, "Man, that Hurts guy. Hey, man.
You can't measure it. You can't measure it. That's why."
He goes like this, Sills, death or defeat. I go, "I know, man. That's the first thing that popped in my mind when Jimmy used to always preach to us, death before defeat." And I'm like, I saw it. That team believes that.
Yeah.
You see, it's one thing. Some people go like this. Well, that's chalkboard shit, Sills. Yeah, but the mentality, that's why when you always talk about gladiators and stuff, you constantly have to have that mentality in your mind that you're going to rip somebody's throat out, that you're going to stomp their brains in. You'll run them over with a car. You'll hit them with a chair. If you had a gun on them, you'd shoot them. And people go, wow, how can you say all those things? It's
because certain guys, if you don't have the mentality, you're not going to beat them.
It's not literally.
Of course it's not literal, but they're soft.
Figuratively.
They're soft. That's what it is. They're soft.
Figuratively, the mentality that you have to have in a sport like that is that you'll pick a chair up and split someone's head open with it. And someone goes, that is so. And I'm like, well, if you don't believe that and you don't subscribe to that, you'll never be a champion.
It always goes back to this. How far
are you willing to
go for glory? How far are you willing to push your body, push your mind, push your spirit for glory, for victory? What are you going to do? What are you going to do in the face of adversity? What are you going to sacrifice for triumph? A lot of teams think they have it. That's my problem with the Cowboys. They think they have it, but they don't. They wish they had it. See, like I said to you before, everyone looks at the Philadelphia Eagles and all they can point to is say, well, the refs helped them more. They can't fathom it. They can't measure it. So they have to point somewhere else. This is what happens when you're facing something that's inevitable.
How about, hey, Tone, if you're the Cowboys right now and you've been watching this month of football with them, how are you feeling about that game in Arlington in 2 weeks?
If I'm the Cowboys, I would look at my past 2 weeks, beating the Commanders and then beating the Panthers and so on and so forth. Who else they played? Was it the Giants too? I can't remember. But if I'm them,
well, I'm just pick a shitty team. I'm sure it was them.
Right. And if I'm them, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, we put up 40 points on these teams, but we did nothing that even comes close to what they just did.
Nothing.
They beat Mahomes in Arrowhead. They beat Josh Allen in a torrential rainstorm in overtime. Dropped 4 touchdowns on him in the second half. Came back to win. What mentally? How can we compete with that? Mentally,
you can't.
The Cowboys, no matter what they do, no matter what they pretend to be, they will never ever beat us, and they wish they was. See, the Cowboys are a team that won it both ways. They want the glitz and the glam, but they want to be respected for being dirty and grimy. It don't work that way.
Well, no,
Pick a side.
What they're doing right now is the only thing they can hang on. Get this. Here's the only thing they have. The only thing they have is that we hung with them.
That's all they have. And I don't hang around nobody.
Hey,
I don't need no new friends. I don't hang around nobody.
Things in here, Michael. I would love to have Frank back as an advisor, and then next year, as the OC. I think he'd work wonders. Again, we got to remember something with him. He also had Jacoby Brissett in Indy. He also had Phillip Rivers. And by the way, who's Jalen Hurts' favorite film watch? Who does he watch more film on than anybody? It's Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers.
Here's a guy that taught Phillip Rivers the system in San Diego. That's why it makes perfect sense for Jalen Hurts. I saw somebody else in here go like this. Are you ready to eat crow on Hurts? I'm like, the Philadelphia Eagles didn't believe in Hurts. They had 2 first-rounders as they were going into the 2020 season for a reason.
They were prepared to use them by any means necessary. They were prepared.
Taking a quarterback. So don't talk to me like about eating crow. What it is he's performing. He's doing what Lamar's doing. The Eagles didn't believe. Here, same thing with Nicholas Morrow. They cut him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The team didn't even believe in him. Now, the player's performance puts himself in a different place. Jalen Hurts is a $50 million guy now.
That was a $50 million game, was it not? That was a $50 million performance. I mean,
Eagles got their money's worth there.
So far, he's 3-0 in this gauntlet. The 6-game gauntlet that they've been talking about all year.
See, I think it's more of a mental gauntlet. I think it's more of a mental and physical gauntlet than it is about. I hear people making the comment, "You're the gauntlet." Well, that's not really the case. What I'm talking, I think it's mental. I think it's physically exhausting, mentally exhausting to have to play teams like this every week versus the Giants, the Panthers, and the nobodies. There's a whole different level of play.
It prepares you for nothing.
They're in championship mode right now.
Mm-hmm. Beating the Giants, beating the Panthers, beating the Command. What does that prepare you for?
Nothing.
What does it prepare? It prepares you for nothing.
A loss.
You know, but it emboldens you. It bloats your ego in your head and it makes you think that you are what you want to be, but you're not.
You want to hear this? That Bills game versus the Eagles. The Bills beat the Cowboys because of that game, the way they played. They beat Dallas.
Dallas does have the Bills coming up, don't they?
My opinion, Dallas, don't they play them?
I think they do. Let me double check that. I think they do. Because you may be on to something. I overlooked that. So they play, okay, so coming out of their bye, they play Chiefs on the road, and then they're home against the Cowboys. They may catch them. I overlooked it.
Do you think that the Bills played the Eagles tougher than the Cowboys did?
Do I think the Bills are going to play?
They ran the ball for 170 on you.
Mm-hmm.
The quarterback ran for 90 or 80 and threw for 332. Dak ain't doing that versus you.
Nah, man, that was crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Listen, Josh Allen.
Dak Prescott, Josh Allen. Hey, watch. Hey, that ain't a comparison.
Josh Allen was letting it rip, man. He was killing us on third down. Third down, he was a god on third down.
I've never seen that before. I've never seen a guy that efficient on third down. By the way, I think the Eagle defensive line, I think they got jobbed out of about 4 sacks. They couldn't get him down, dude.
You know what's so crazy, though? The fact of the matter is you got your defense on the field for 92 snaps. You're not getting any sacks. They're exhausted. You know, so the offense has to do a better job of staying on the field long enough for those defensive guys to get some reps.
Stop dicking around in the first half.
Yeah, and stop turning the ball over. You know what I mean? Because all you're doing is putting your defense in a bad situation. You know, after the game, Hassan Reddick was like, you know, they asked him, you know, are you exhausted from the 92 snaps or whatever? He said, wait, we played. I lied to you now. He said, wait, we played 92 snaps. He didn't even know. Hey, so that's how like, I'm pretty sure you played the game, and afterwards you were like, hold on, wait, what? How many snaps?
You can't lift your arms. Let me say this to you. Watching Jordan Davis run down that sideline step for step with Josh Allen, at 3. I said on Twitter, so you had a guy that's 400 pounds running down the sideline step for step with Josh Allen. He's as gifted and as athletic as Larry Allen was.
That was that combine speed we saw.
That was insane.
That was that combine speed we saw because the way he was running, you thought he was running the 40-yard dash.
Hey, if I were Josh Allen's 6'6" too. Okay. And if I'm watching that guy run at me, and was he 6'6" too? Like 350
something
or
like that. 6'6", 6'7", 330, 340, something like that. Yeah.
That is, hey, that guy's a biscuit away from 350, dog.
Listen,
ain't no way that guy's 338. Yo, I know what 338 is. That ain't it.
After he hawked him down on second down, after he forced him out of bounds, he was so tired. He just laid there. They had to come get him.
I never said, Keon, that Jordan Davis was a bust. I never said that.
You never said that.
I never said that.
Come on,
and
man.
by the way, the Eagles thought he wasn't a third down guy.
Right. We never said it. Hey, no one thought he was a third down guy.
The biggest turnaround you've seen since Brandon Graham?
That's a good question. See, Brandon Graham's came a little bit later, but
I mean, Tony's a different dude.
It is like a different dude.
That's a different dude.
You know what he said though, right? He said, because they kept asking him, did you lose weight? He was like, no, but trust me, I'm conditioned. That's all he kept saying. He said, no, I didn't lose weight, but trust me, I'm prepared this time. That's all he kept saying. And another thing he said was, he said he was having a lot of imposter syndrome last year. It took him a while to really believe that he belonged there.
You know what I think though, Tone, too? I think they had him in a role he had never been in, and that was being a backup. And when he's at Georgia, he started his entire time there. And when you're coming in, and believe me, when you start all the years in college and you go to the pros and you're getting 22 snaps or you're getting 23 snaps and you know when these snaps are coming, that's a different deal. Okay, than being the guy who goes out there and plays the majority of the snaps like that. It's a whole different mentality.
He started every game this year. He started every game. It's crazy. He's become a full-time starter. Did you know?
I think that injury to Fletcher Cox is going to hurt.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't keep Fletcher out for too long. But listen to this, right? Listen to these snap counts. I'm about to give you these because it was insane how many snaps Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis had to play, because Fletcher had went out. Listen to this, man. Listen to these snap counts. So Jalen Carter, 80% of the snaps. He played 76 snaps. Which is 76 snaps, which is 80% of the total snaps.
92 snaps.
Jordan Davis played 62 snaps, 65% of the 92 snaps.
For a guy 330, 340, that's a ton.
That's insane. And both Jalen Carter and him play special teams. Jalen Carter blocked the field goal. Like, yo, this kid, like Jalen Carter,
he is, dude, he blows people up. I mean,
he's a gamer.
Tackle he made in the backfield, the block field goal, the way he rushes the passer, holy shit! Now, I think both of them are tired. That's why you see the 170. Okay, I mean, and plus, get this: you're taking on quarterbacks. There's two things. I heard you guys talking. The quarterbacks don't get sacked. Yeah, but they also know how to move on the ground when they have to take off. So they're skilled runners too.
Yeah. Listen to this too. Listen to this. We know the Bills ran 92 plays, but listen to this. There was actually a total of 95 actually. Four players on the Eagles played 100% of the snaps. Reed Blankenship, Darius Slay, Kevin Byard, and James Bradbury. They played 100% of the snaps, 95 total snaps. That's insane.
Listen to this then. If that's the case, 95 to 65, do you understand, Tone? Most of the time, there's roughly around 60 snaps, 62 snaps in a ball game. Okay? So you played, the Bills had an additional half of football in snaps.
Yeah.
Versus you.
I don't know. You basically played a game and a half yesterday.
Will affect them come next week against the 49ers.
They basically played a game and a half yesterday. That's basically what happened. If you look at it from a snap count perspective,
yes,
those guys played essentially a game and a half. It's insane. Now, if I'm Nick Sirianni, which he's real good at this. If I'm Nick Sirianni, these guys have off until Wednesday. Wednesday. I'm letting these guys keep their feet up, relax. If I'm him, you took this team into overtime. It was a hard-fought game. It was messy. It was rainy. Listen, you guys have off until Wednesday, and it's going to be a walkthrough. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to make sure these guys stay as fresh as possible. You're right, man. Fatigue, like you said something earlier that really stuck out to me. You said at this point in the season, these guys are grinding. And I don't think people really understand what that means.
Grinding and the level of
like you played the game.
Level of
what does that mean? You played the game. What does that mean?
Tone, and the level of quarterback you're playing now is mentally, you have to be focused. When you see Jason Kelce getting illegal procedure penalties, that's a fatigue thing.
On back-to-back plays.
It's exhausting because you're mentally focused, you're physically grinding. Dude, when you have to come from behind like that 2 straight weeks against those type of teams like that, that wears you out, dog. That wears you out. It wears you out mentally, everything. That's why, man, like you said, those guys should be eating nice, laying around, chilling, go get your treatments, rest. Dude, I would even do this. Wednesday, I'd have helmet and shorts, and I'd just go through walkthroughs because those guys, they need to recover. After that 7 days, you played the Chiefs and the Bills, and you had to come back in each game. That's more than what people think. That's more. I mean, like you said, you played really a game and a half, 2 games and a half, 7 days.
You know what's so crazy? I was just about to say that. They played about almost 3 games in a matter of 2 games. It's insane how
they played almost 2 games in a matter of a week. No, 3 games almost in a matter of a week.
Yeah, if you look at the snap, matter of fact, let's be exact about it, right? So in the Chiefs game, the defense played. The defense was on the field for 74 plays, 74 total plays, right?
Okay, that's 14 more.
74, and then in this Bills game, how many was it? It was a
95.
95. So
that's 44 extra plays.
74 plus 95. That's 169 plays.
Okay. Think about that for a second. That's 3 games.
That's 3 games. If you divide that by 3, that's about 56 snaps per game. That's like 3 games.
And you're limited at linebacker and defensive tackle right now going into this Niner game.
And the entire offensive line played 100% of the snaps. Say that again?
They win this Niner game, dude.
Oh, my God. I don't –
no.
It's almost
only
like
an injury to Hurts.
It's almost like the Niners are catching them at the perfect time.
Yes.
But I don't know. I have a hard time betting against them still.
No.
It's crazy.
No, at home, though you're a dog.
That's a good point. The fact that they're at home means they don't have to travel.
That's right.
Which helps you.
Can you imagine if they had to get on an airplane and go 3,000 miles?
I mean, no, matter of fact, imagine this. Imagine if the Seattle game and the San Fran game were swapped.
Oh, back-to-back away. You know what they would have done? They would have stayed out there.
You got to stay out there.
Yeah. You don't do that. Tone, we got to roll, brother. Got Gary Cobb coming up. That was awesome stuff.
That was fun, man. Listen, Jalen Hurts, lead leader MVP voting, man. I'm telling you, he's going to get it this year. I can feel it. This year. He's going to get it.
I did say 4-1, right?
Yeah, you said 4-1.
4-1, he wins the MVP, right? What if he goes 5-0?
I'm with it.
You said he goes 5-0.
Well, listen, if you count the Cowboys game, that's 6-0. So
if you go 6-0,
sweep the Cowboys, you beat Allen, you beat Mahomes, you beat Purdy in the Niners,
you beat Dak twice,
Seattle. That's MVP right there. But hey, man,
you give him the so if you're 14-1, you give him the last 2 weeks off?
Yes. You can have whatever you want. You can have my car, whatever you need.
That's my guy, Tone. Hey, don't forget our good friends at Hooters, man, for Happy Wingsgiving during the month of November there. Each and every single one of you get an opportunity to win yourself some gift certificates like our friend here, Ashley and Sean. We really appreciate you guys playing along. We'll start the contest up tomorrow. Ice Cold Coors Light drafts, $2.99, 25 cents. Go to local charities. The 2024 calendars are out. $100 in gift cards are inside them. Go to northeasthooters.com. That's northeasttutors.com. Seafood Sundays, half price, snow crab, steamers, buffalo shrimp. Tuesdays, you'll love them. Buy 10 wings, get 10 boneless free. Kids eat for free on Saturdays. northeasttutors.com. That's northeasttutors.com. And do me a favor, tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters, the perfect